Hello and welcome to another edition of Luminar Coffee Break. I'm your host, Vanelli. Now, our topic today is how to create a holiday Christmas card or a holiday card using texture overlay. So if you ever wondered, can you combine two images together inside Luminar? The answer is yes, and I'll show you how we're doing that. All right? Well, let's get started. So here I am with the two of the images we're going to choose, or we're going to start with. So here's a nice picture of a couple, and then this is going to be the texture overlay I want to use. Now, when I originally designed this, I cropped this image to a 5x7 size, so I figured 5x7 is a perfect size, and it's standard, so I can just send it out, and there's not going to be any extra charges for a larger size card. One thing I did realize that after I did this, I don't need to edit this one here. So I can leave this as is, just for safekeeping. I did crop it to a 5x7, but we'll use these two right here. All right? So here we are with the beautiful couple. And when I click edit, I'm going to come over here to the local masking tab. I'll click add, and here's texture overlay. Now from here, I'm going to load that texture. So I'll click on load texture, and I'll find the directory where I had the texture. Let's just Luminar Coffee Break, holiday card, and here's the texture. Now once it loads in, the default is 50% opacity. Well, let's crank that up to 100%. Now notice when we do this, it takes up the entire screen and I can't see what's underneath it. So think of the layer as a deck of cards, but see-through cards. I can see from the top deck all the way to the bottom. Here, these are traditional cards. If they're solid, I can't see behind it or down behind it. So what we're going to need to do is a couple things. One, I'm going to change the under advanced. I want to change the blend mode from normal, and I just cycled through different ones. And multiply looks really good, color burn, and darken. So let's start with darken. And instantly, what's ever brighter, or in this image here, what's ever too bright, or whatever, the darkest, gets to be on the top layer. What's ever bright, it gets to be on the bottom layer. So this does a decent job. Notice some of the texture came through here. So this is where we're going to use the masking option to get rid of the areas we don't want. All right. So I'm going to click erase. I want to set the opacity to 100%. And now I'm going to use the left or right bracket keys to make the brush bigger or smaller. Now I'm just going to come over here just to show you what we're doing. And I want to erase that texture on this area of the image. Notice when I do that, the red texture overlay disappears. Good. And I'll do the same thing over here. That's it. Each time, I'll make the brush either bigger or smaller with the bracket keys. This right here is definitely has to go. It's too distracting. And I'll move this out of the way. All right. Get rid of that little ball area. That's it. And right in here. And by the way, I'm using a pressure sensitive, my screen is the Microsoft Works Studio, Surface Studio. So I'm using a pen to actually go in and to erase it. It's so much easier than using a mouse. All right, so now that I have that set, we can see a little issue here. Notice the package is kind of like seeping through. And again, that's because whatever the darkest part of this image is going to be on the top layer. So I'm going to come over here and change it back to normal. And look, I can see through it. Or I can see the package and it worked great. So that means we have to do a little cleaning up here now. Erase, and what paint back. I want to paint back just a little bit of these sections here. Good. There it is. Got it? So if you notice, the original image was blown out. That's why it was so bright that the other part was shining through. Erase. And by the way, I could use the X shortcut on the keyboard to toggle between paint and erase. All right, and there we are. Now, here's a couple things to remember. Now that we did this, and if you notice, like in areas like in here, it just looks a little weird. What I can do is increase the brush size, go back to paint, but this time I want to paint instead of at 100% opacity, maybe 28%, and then just feather it in just a little bit, like this, just to make it ease in, so it doesn't have that harsh. It doesn't have those harsh lines to it. Again, I just want to get rid of this area here. There it is. All right. So now, one thing to remember when we did this, if I decide to make a change right now, so if I decide to change this area right in here, remember it's a mask. So let me come up here. We'll use black and white because it'll be the easiest to see. Notice the couple converted to black and white, but the mask didn't, all right? So keep that in mind that when we're doing these overlays, any changes you want to make to the image, make it ahead of time, and then when you apply it to the mask itself, remember that the mask area here is not going to get the same treatment, there we go, as the bottom image, because remember, it's masking. It's only showing this area here because we applied the layer mask to it. Now, if you are at this point right here, you can save it and then come back into it like I did over here. Let me pull it up. Like I did here, give it a second to redraw. And now that it's a JPEG or a TIFF or whatever you want it to be, we could go back through and just do our traditional editing. Let's see. Okay, I like that. Let me dial it back just a little bit. And now it's treating it as one image. All right? So let me check with some of the questions here. And by the way, if you like these episodes, please give us a thumbs up. Show us a little bit of love there. Let's see. Do you have links to any of the free ones? Okay, so for the textures, these here actually went to Unsplash and Adobe stock. So I went to those websites and I downloaded them because we're doing it live to show you. For yourselves, you could go and search for free textures as long as you're not using the free textures commercially. Like let's say you're not creating this card and then you're mass producing, Christmas cards. You can't use the textures for that. But do a Google search on textures overlay, and you'll see a bunch there. At some point, let me pull up our website. Let's see where we help. Excuse me. Let's go to Luminar Marketplace. And I'm going to pull the screen over. There we go. All right. And okay, so here we are on the Luminar Marketplace. And if I click on textures here, all right, so Rich Harrington gave, and thank you so much. Who asked that question? Alan. Thank you so much. So Rich Harrington uploaded a bunch of textures for free that you could download. And right up here, if you can see that, that's the link. Just go to skylum.com/Luminar Marketplace. Or again, just go to skylum.com and then look for Marketplace. Here we go. Marketplace. and then just click on texture, and you have it right here. All right. Oh, all right. So Smith, you're asking what's the device? I'm using a Microsoft Surface Studio. So the Microsoft Surface Studio, here I'll pull it up a little bit. So it's rather large. So it's phenomenal. It's touchscreen. It replaced my Wacom tablet. The only issue, now I'm not even saying there's an issue, it's A, it's expensive. B, the graphics card, everything is built right in to the base unit. So upgrading, if you're gonna get one of these, get the fully decked out one. This thing I think has 32 gigs of RAM. Make sure you get the decked out because there's no upgrading. So once you get these, there's no upgrading. And like I said, it's very good. Now, I do love the fact that I could draw on the screen, but since I've been working with Luminar, everything is either AI and it does it for me, or I'm moving sliders, and I haven't had too much use of the masking brush because the whole purpose of Luminar is really quick edits, to make awesome, quick, creative edits without you having to do a lot of masking. All right, let's see. And good. Yes. So on the 10th, for those that have already purchased Luminar, pre-ordered, I forgot what the cutoff date was. The first 30,000 are going to receive it on the 10th. And thanks for reminding me, Russell, on that. So while we're here, let me pull this up. It's Luminar Live. Let's see. And here we are. All right, great. And thanks, Russell, for reminding me on that. Luminar Live is going to be an online event, and that's happening on the 10th. These are the speakers that we'll be having. Our CEO, Alex Tespo, will be joining in. Elia Liccardi will give a beautiful keynote, and the host will be Pierre and Juliana. And here's what they're going to be talking about. So again, that's skylum.com/Luminar-Live. And you can see what we're working on here. All right. Well, let me pull up here. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, please leave them in the chat below or in the comments. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Our producers love seeing those. And I'll see you guys at the next coffee break.